One of the things that's been consistently awful about the internet since basically its inception is the consistent spam that you get because of the internet. Now, when I say spam, you're probably thinking phone calls, you're probably thinking text messages, you're probably thinking mail. But if you've ever run any type of website, put any web app up on the internet, you've seen tons of spam. Maybe it's just vulnerability scanning. Maybe it's people just sending random ping requests to any web server that's on the internet. But if you've put a form up on the internet, you know that anytime there is anywhere that somebody can input free text and send it to somebody else's server, it's going to be horrific. You're going to be dealing with everything from racial slurs to random Bitcoin scam giveaways to everything else in between. So when I decided that I wanted to create my own personal landing page and have text input that would allow people to contact me to, set up some kind of contract, freelance type of thing, or just to ask me questions or just to say hello or hurl insults at me, I knew that I would have to put some sort of spam stopper in front of it. Now, CAPTCHA is not perfect. Google's CAPTCHA specifically is not perfect. There are ways around CAPTCHA. Google is not a great company. They're not my favorite company, but CAPTCHA is kind of the go-to for all very easy spam stopping needs. Basically, anytime that you need to put something in front of a form that will at least deter the easy one-off folks who are just trying to point a bot at your server and overload your database, it's very, very easy to set up. It's actually even easier than I thought it would be. So we're going to dive into the code of my personal landing page, which is live right now. It's ugly, and I'm planning on doing a lot of changes before I launch it. But it is up on the internet at valhallaresearch.net, so you can actually technically follow along live when this comes out. So let's take a look at the code. So I have got Helix open here. I'm going to be doing a review of Helix here soon, but just know that Helix is kind of like my go-to code editor now. So let's open this up. I actually kind of forgot where I put it, more or less. So let's go to components, and I believe it is in contact. There we go. So we've got a lot of state management going on here. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see. The interesting bit is down towards the bottom, though, I believe. Well, I'm apparently going to have to go down quite a ways. There we go. So CAPTCHA, if you want to look at an example, it's fairly easy to find. You can go to my website, and there's a little CAPTCHA in front of the contact form. But essentially what we're trying to do here is make it harder for people to point bots at my my contact form and just overload a database full of just nonsense. So this makes it a little bit harder. It's still, again, something that you can get around. But essentially what you're looking for is this reCAPTCHA right here, where you're using the reCAPTCHA library for NextJS, and I believe it's probably just for vanilla React as well. But basically all you really need is a site key, which is going to go on the front end, which is why I'm showing you right here. There's no problem with you knowing my site key. If you go to my website right now, you can see the site key in the source code. The part that you don't want to see is the secret key. And I'm not going to even bother pulling up my dashboard for Google. I'm going to link to the blog that goes a little bit more in depth on how kind of to set all of this stuff up. But I'm not going to show the dashboard just because I don't feel like blurring out all of the secret keys and stuff like that in order to do that. But functionally, you've got a key pair, and you set up on the back end all of the different domains that you want to be associated with that key pair. So I've got valhallaresearch.net, and I also added localhost so I could test this locally. So basically, it's going to check and make sure that, if I am trying to solve this CAPTCHA, it is on the correct domain. And once I solve the CAPTCHA, it's going to create a message that combines the site key with the solution to the CAPTCHA with the secret key, sends it off to Google's API, checks to see if it's correct, and then sends back a correct response. So if we go back up towards the top, we've got validate email. This is making sure that the email is validated. I'm going to do a more in-depth code walkthrough for my personal landing page once I'm actually formally done with it. But basically all this is doing is making sure that you are inputting a legitimate email into the form. This is making sure that you're giving me a valid message, so something that's actually, Yeah, so something that's actually like a valid message length between like 5 and 1,000 characters. I don't want people sending me like the entire script to the B movie or something like that. And then we've got the setter functions for the states. We've got the setter function for the CAPTCHA, and we've got handle click. So handle click is what actually handles the form being filled out. So we're making sure that the CAPTCHA is legitimate. We're making sure that the email is valid. And then we are going to make that API request to my backend. And part of my backend, I believe, I want to say that the secret key shows there. So I'm not going to show the code there. But all that really does is it sends an API request off to Google's API, pairing that site key with the secret key, sends it off, gets a response. And if the response is legitimate, everything else is valid, then it says, okay, we have received your message, and it logs that message in my database. Now, the database I'm using is Vercel's Postgres database. I'm going to do another review for that in like a week or two. I've really loved using Prisma and Vercel's DB and Vercel's CI/CD, but that's kind of the stack that I'm using here. It's dead simple. This entire code base is going to be dead simple, and this is essentially how it works. All you really need is that key pair set up within Google's dashboard. It's free, and it's definitely worth your time since it saves you a lot of headaches trying to deal with spam. I haven't dealt with any spam issues, but I've also not gotten any legitimate messages either. So, hopefully it works. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how easy all of this was to set up. Really, you just have to create those two keys and toss in one like next library, and you're pretty much good to go. It's a really drag and drop type of experience. I'm leaving a link to the blog that I wrote on this that gives a little bit more step-by-step information, but I wanted this video to be more of an introduction to the idea and kind of like a very quick and dirty, like how to get it set up type thing. So again, it's very, very simple. And if you've got any forms out on the internet, chances are you're going to want to put something out in front of it. It's been a bit since I've created a video. I have been unbelievably busy with day job stuff, contract work, writing SaaS applications. That's still happening, and I'll have more about that looking at my content notes next week after next, something like that. So content's coming back because I have found a little bit more time to work on it a little bit more. I'm probably going to be more active on my blog and in shorts than in long form content like this, and it's definitely going to be a little bit less edited because I'm a developer, I'm not a content creator. So yeah, that's about it. Take it easy. Peace.